Well, he is at the moment till he goes out and feeds his goats. He cuts the grass for the goats. Right. But I'd have put a goat story together if I'd known. Uh, so, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, and assembled company, welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. And it is Friday, so it is stories for children, and it's me tonight. My goodness. Oh, my goodness. Hello, King Louis. Hello, Vita. Hello, Omar, Babasi, Norman, and Lucy. And of course, for the moment, I keep letting people in. It's great. I've got an audience of more than one. Um, so I was going to start the stories today with an Anansi story because I was thinking, because the Anansi started his journey in Ghana and then came across the ocean to Jamaica and then came across the ocean again with the Windrush, which landed this month in Tilbury in Essex. So it's Anansi comes to Essex. And the Windrush, which was landed on June the 22nd, or docked on June 21st. I think everyone got off on June 22nd in 1948 when I was 1 year old. And so I think it's quite permissible to do Anansi stories in an Essex accent because Anansi is a traveller and picks up a way of speaking wherever he goes. And there's a million versions of how Anansi stories came into being, and this is the one I tell. So, way back in time, when all the animals could talk to each other and chickens still had teeth, everyone gathered at Tiger's feet to listen to stories. Everything was named after Tiger. There were tiger moths, there were tiger lilies, and of course, there were tiger stories. And when I'm with children, I get them all to give me an animal that might be sitting around there. So I'm going to go, as you're all children of a certain age. Babasi, give me an animal.
The lion.
Lion, obviously. Norman. No, it's a very silent animal with Norman because he's muted.
It's a grizzly bear. They're quiet.
There's a grizzly bear. Actually, there's grizzly bears keep coming down into the village at the moment, or brown bears, which are like. Anyway, Avita, give me an animal.
An axolotl.
A what?
An axolotl.
An axolotl. And one of those. Louis, give me an animal.
Crocodile.
A crocodile. And there's and Donald.
Hippopotamus.
A hippopotamus. I thought you were going to say a haggis there.
Yeah, make it a haggis.
So was that. And Omar, give me an animal. That's okay.
You have to
Lucy, give me an animal.
Sloth.
A sloth. My friends. That's so the sloth and the hippopotamus and the blah, 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 and the crocodile and the haggis and the sloth were sitting around Tiger, and Tiger was chuntering away, telling stories, when through the crowd came a spider, Anansi. And he looked up at Tiger, he said, "It's not fair." "What do you mean it's not fair?" "It's not fair. Everything's named after you. I want something named after me." Tiger wouldn't have minded giving away the moss, but it was sounded daft, Anansi moss. And he wouldn't mind giving away the lilies, but it sounded worse than Anansi lilies. But he didn't want to give away the stories. So when Anansi asked for the stories, he didn't know what to do. So he stroked his long tiger beard. He didn't want to look mean. And he scratched his tiger chin. And he tapped his tiger paw on the ground a few times. And after much thought and much consideration, which is a very long time, he decided to give Anansi 2 impossible tasks to do for the week. And he said, if you can get me a gourd full of bees and a snake on a stick in 7 days, you can have the stories. Well, Anansi went off and he's singing to himself, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Oh, dearie, dearie, dearie me, I don't know what to do. Now, my voice is bad, but Anansi's was worse. And up the top of the tallest tree was Queen Bee, and she shouted down, what's all that noise down there? And Anansi shouted up, it's only me, Queenie, I've got a bit of a problem. I can hear that. Come up here and tell me about it. No, you got wings. You come down. Queen Bee buzzes all the way down. Okay, Nancy, what's your problem? Well, I told Tiger I'd find out how many bees would fit in this gourd. And Queen Bee said, that's easy. You just take one of us and you measure how long we are and how wide we are and how fat we are, and you times the whole lot together, and that tells you how big we are. And then you do the same thing with the gourd, and you take the first complicated sum and see how many times it goes in the second complicated sum, and that tells you how many bees are in the gourd. And then it said, look, I couldn't do sums when I was at school. I can't do sums now. Get all your friends to fly in one at a time and we'll count them. And all the bees came, and if I had a class full of children, I'd all be getting them. And, bzzz, and when they got nearer, they got louder. Bzzz, and when they got really near, they got really loud. Bzzz. All right, keep your wings on. I've got a question. Can you fly into the pot one at a time? And we'll count you. Because Anansi needs to know how many bees fit in this pot, in this gourd. They start flying in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 771, 772, 773, 774, 775, 776, 777, 7,771. And the last bee was in the gourd, and the stopper was put on, and there it was, a gourd full of bees. Nancy rolled it through the forest and put it at Tiger's feet. Tiger thought, well, I never expected him to do that. Still, he'll never get a steak on a stick. When Nancy went home and he looked in a cupboard, and in the cupboard he had an avocado pear and an egg. And he loved avocado pears and he loved eggs, but he knew snakes liked them even more. So he went to the middle of the forest where he knew snake came along every day, slither, slither, slither. And he dug a big hole. And then he put the avocado pear in the bottom of the hole, and he made the sides all wet and slippery and slimy and disgusting. So when snake came along like he did every day, slither, 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 and he'd look down the hole and think, oh, amazing, fantastic, phantasmagorical, there's an avocado pear sitting in the bottom of that hole, I think I'll have that for my dinner. He'd slide down and he wouldn't be able to get up again because Anansi made the sides all slippery. Wet and slippery and slimy and disgusting. But who was watching? Snake's friend Lizard. So when Snake came along like he did every day, slither, 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 slither. And he looked down the hole and thought, oh, amazing, fantastic, phantasmagorical. There's an avocado pear sitting at the bottom of the hole. I think I'll have that for my dinner. Lizard shouting, stop, whatever you do, don't go down the hole. All right, keep your scales on. Why not? Because Anansi's made the sides all wet and slippery and slimy and disgusting. And if you go down there, you'll never get up. No problem, said Snake. And he goes down, and he puts his tail around a root that's sticking out the side of the hole. Out the side, halfway down, and he wraps his tail around the root. And he gets down, he swallows the avocado pear whole, and then he pulls himself up by his tail and slides off into the forest. So when Anansi came along, there was no snake, there was no avocado pear, there was absolutely nothing. So he went home. What do you have left in the cupboard? An egg. So he went to the middle of the forest where he knew Snake came along every day, slither, slither, slither. and he bent down a branch and he put a piece of string and he tied it on the branch and he tied the other end on a rock on the ground and he made a loop in the string and he put the egg in the loop so it was hanging in midair. And Snake was supposed to come along like he did every day, slither, and look up and think, fantastic, amazing, phantasmagorical. There's an egg hanging midair. I think I'll have that for my breakfast. But who was watching? Snake's friend Lizard. So when Snake came along like he did every day, slither, he looked up and thought, oh, amazing, fantastic, phantasmagorical. There's an egg hanging in midair. I think I'll have that for my breakfast. Lizard shouting, stop, whatever you do, don't eat the egg. All right, said Snake. What's happening now? Well, it's in a loop on a string, and if you eat it, you'll get your neck caught in the loop, and you'll be a snake on a stick. No problem, said Snake. And he got his tail and he knocked the egg out, and it broke on the ground. It got all mixed up with the dirt and the grass and the disgustingness, which by an amazing coincidence is exactly how snakes like their eggs done. So it all up. So when Nancy came along, there was no egg, there was no snake, there was absolutely nothing. He wouldn't get into it, so he wouldn't get the stories. He went home and he looked in the cupboard and it was absolutely nothing there. So he's walking to the fries going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Oh, dearie, dearie, dearie me, I don't know what to do. When who should he bump into but Snake himself? He said, Snake said, I'm glad I saw you, Nancy. I wanted to thank you for the avocado pear, and I love the egg. But why are you trying to catch me? Catch you, said Nancy. Nothing could be further from my mind. I've just got a bet with Tiger that you're longer than this stick here, and Tiger says you're shorter. Of course I'm longer, said Snake, and tomorrow I'll prove it. So they got to the clearing next day, and there's the snake, and there's the stick, and there's Tiger. And there's the sloth and the blah, 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 and the crocodile and the haggis and the lion. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting your lion, Babasi. And I totally forgot what Norman put in the spell. We'll put in there. A bear. So there's an. And there was a Nancy. And Snake stretches along the stick. And he's that much too short. And everyone's shouting, stretch, 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 Snake, stretch, 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 Snake, stretch. And he's stretching away and he's about that much too short. And Nancy said, hold it. And he takes a bit of string and he ties his tail onto the stick. And so his tail won't pull up the stick as he stretches. And everyone's shouting, stretch, 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 Snake, stretch, stretch, stretch. Stretch, Snake, stretch. He's only about that much too short, and then that's it. Hold it. And takes a piece of string and he ties it onto his middle, and he's only got his front bit, man. And everyone's shouting really loud now. And if it was being told in Tilbury as everyone got off the boat, they'd hear it up in Glasgow. Stretch, 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 Snake, stretch. And then they'd hear it across the ocean. They'd even hear the relatives in Jamaica would hear it. Stretch, stretch. Stretch, Snake, stretch, and then all the relatives back in Ghana would hear it. Stretch, 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 Snake, stretch, and Snake's nose just got to the end of the stick, and Nancy got the last piece of string and tied it round the Snake's head onto the stick, and there it was in 7 days. And Nancy got a gourd full of bees and a snake on a stick. And that's one of the reasons. I have heard others. It's like when you're on television saying there are other products. That's one of the reasons I've been told how Anansi got the stories and why today there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Anansi stories. Well, this is a...
Well done. Well said.
This is
And
for
you know
mothers
that's one of my
everywhere.
favorite stories.
Pardon?
That's one of my favorite stories. You know, I tell a version of that story.
I know the television. You do the one where up the pole, don't you, and stuff.
Do the one
Yes.
with Watsu, the spirit, the invisible fairy no man can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a poem. It's for parents. I don't. When I wrote this, I was doing a series in the school of workshops in schools, and then they said something that they wanted a poem. It was poetry workshops I was doing. It was before I knew I was a storyteller, and so the they said, could I do something? It was parents done. They said something that both adults and children can shout out. Well, adults are daft, aren't they? I mean, there's, if you're a kid and they go with your parents to somewhere and they ask for the people to want to join in. They're all going, put your hand up, put your hand up. When it's their turn, they sit like statues. And so this has been happening. The shout out bits was "Hey Mum" and "Hey Dad." So we won't do that because it's really weird on Zoom trying to get everyone shouting together because it all comes out like you're in an echo chamber. So I'll do it. Hey Mum, it's a brand new day. Hey Mum, can I go out and play? Hey Mum, have you seen my ball, my skip rope, my pleasure machine? I'll find it in a minute, or I'll do it when I've done it. Who are you going to play with? Or make sure you're back by one. Your dinner will be ready, or we're going out for tea. That's the last clean shirt you're wearing, so make sure you keep it clean. Or it's, hey Dad, can I have 50p? Hey Dad, you promised me. Hey Dad, will you take me down to get some new training shoes? There's smashing ones in town. So I've only got £1 coin. I'll do it when there's time. I talk it over with your mum, and she says it's fine. We'll go and get them next weekend. It's only one more week, or I think that you've already got enough shoes for your feet. Then it's, hey Mum, it's not fair. Hey Mum, it's cruel. Hey Mum, they're all wearing new training shoes at school. Hey Dad, I told Mum. Hey Dad, you said. Hey Dad, you know you've lost. So just go and get the car, will you? So that's for parents everywhere. And then this is from a real event, another parenty thing. It's, if your parents go out and buy your clothes for you, no one wants the clothes bought for them. And I remember the very occasion that I wrote this. My boy, who's now 40 years old, I bought him when he was a toe rag. I mean, when he was young. There was I got him a little hoodie. Can't remember a hoodie or something. Anyway, it was the wrong color. And we were so pleased with ourselves. We got this very thing he wanted, and it was the wrong color. So I wrote this. I didn't want a red one. I didn't want a blue. I wanted a white one, and I hate you. Now look here, half pint. Can't we ever get it right? Can't you at least say thank you very much, Mum, and try to be polite? Because whatever we buy you, it never seems to please. It's either the wrong colour or it's baggy at the knees. It's not got the right label. It's entirely the wrong brand. Well, I'll tell you this for nothing. It's more than we can stand. But no one ever asked me what it is I want to wear. It is my body after all, and well, it isn't fair. I've had enough. I'll hear no more. Put this argument on hold, because until you're bringing pound coins in, you'll do as you're told. And don't you pull that face at me when you know you really should be saying sorry, and crying will do no good. But Dad, you never listen, and all you do is shout. And why do you always get to me when you're going out? And there was a third one. I can remember it because somehow I've got the copy of the book here where that was put together in the wrong way. So I've only got the first page. And because the parents' revenge is to give them children, because we can't make children two-dimensional anymore because that's ideologically unsound. So we have other ways to get back at them where we won't get done for child abuse. We give them jobs to do around the house. when I've been doing the cooking and there's stuff all over the kitchen, there's not a square inch to put anything down, I turn casually to a little one and say, just take out the dishes, will you? There they are, struggling away with a big pile of dishes in their hand. Where shall I put them? Use your common sense. Have you ever tried to rest a pile of dishes on a piece of common sense? Crash. But for nuclear style revenge, parental revenge, it's just look after your young brother or sister while I pop out. Make sure they don't get in the kitchen. Make sure they don't run on the road. I know what happens as soon as I'm out the door. The little one is in the kitchen. It's got the washing powder. It's spreading it over the floor. It's got the eggs out. It's breaking the eggs in the washing powder. It's got the sausage meat out the fridge. It's wiping it all over its face. As you're clearing that up, it's out the back door. It's running down the back alley. It's about to jump in the road, running in front of a 32-ton truck that is coming down the road at that very moment. You heroes and heroines that you are, run down the alleyway, grab it by the scruff of the neck and save it from certain death, it having no idea of the superiority of steel over skin. Is it grateful? Nah. I come home. It's been bullying me. So anyway, I wrote this, and I hope I can remember the second half because it's only one half here. Do they think I'm superhuman? What do they want of me? Am I supposed to have 6 arms to clear up after tea? And if I clear the things away, where do I put them then? I'd ask me mum or dad to help, but they'd only moan again. I'm told to use my common sense. They talk like sense was had, and I only get more angry if I don't understand. If they don't think I'm that wonderful, why don't they let me be and not keep on giving me jobs that are too much for me, like stopping my young brother from escaping down the street and taking things out of the fridge like eggs and uncooked sausage meat. And if he kicks and scrapes and bites and scrapes and bites, I give him his own way because I've gone heard of hurt him back. I'm told off anyway. Yes, being made responsible for anything's a trick. Another way to get at kids, grown-ups, they make you sick. So, and if I'm in a classroom, I leave the last words for the whole class to say, to shout out. They get the rhyme. So enough of all that nonsense. Let's have a story. This is one I've been I've been telling it a few months, and then I forgot that I knew this story, and I just did a series of 5 to 6 days at a circus camp, and I was telling different stories every session. And then I was annoyed with myself because I like to get my, practice everything as well. If you haven't do different stories every day, see you at Glastonbury, Donald. And so this is one, and I can't now remember where it came from. I think it's a Yugoslav story. I'm not sure, but there's a boy. And as I haven't the faintest idea what his name is, we'll call him Jack. We'll just make it one more Jack story. And he lived with his mum. And they had a little cottage and a little bit of land, but they were very poor and they lived on charity. And as Jack grew, he said, Mum, he said, look, sell the bit of land and buy a horse. And I can go out in the woods and I can collect wood and I can sell the wood and we can make a bit of money and we can stop living on charity. And Mum said, well, if I sell the land and I buy a horse and you're out in the forest, a wolf might come along and eat it. And then we'd have nothing. But Jack went on and on and on. And sometimes it's difficult with children. Fortunately, Avita, you've been through this. Now you're on the next generation. And your grandchildren are sort of still at the crying stage, so they're not asking you for stuff all the time. But eventually, children have a tendency to win. And young people, especially in their teens, for God's sake. And so eventually she gave in, she sold the land, and she bought a horse. And Jack went out into the woods and he worked hard, and they started making some money, and they didn't have to live on charity anymore. And she was quite, it was okay. But one day Jack's out in the woods and he hears this strange sound. And he ties his horse up to a tree and he follows the sound, and there's a dragon. And it's got a deer caught in its mouth. Its antlers are stuck in its throat. And the dragon sort of creaks out, bye, boys. Can you get this deer out of my throat and you will be my sworn brother? The deer's going, no, kill the dragon. Cut off its head. And Jack goes, well, look, if I try and kill the dragon, I fail. You might escape, but then I'm going to be in the way of the dragon. So, and besides that, the dragon called me its sworn brother, so I'm bound to help it. So he frees and the antlers are stuck in the throat. So he frees the deer, and the deer runs off into the forest. It turns out that the dragon is the daughter of the king of the snakes. He said, I'm going to take you to my father. He's going to offer you a gift for saving me. Whatever he offers you, turn it down and say you will accept nothing but the ring on his finger. Now I'm picturing this ring of this king of the snakes with a slightly mixed, slightly human form with scales and so forth, as only the king of the snakes can have. Besides, he has daughters that are dragons. So anyway, they get to the cave and they go in the cave, and Jack's a bit worried. I mean, the whole cave is full of snakes, but as the dragon comes in, they move aside, and Jack and the dragon walk up, and there's her father, the king of the snakes. And he tells his daughter off a bit because she'd always been warned not to go out into the world. Like they're supposed to be hanging around in safety, but she liked a bit of adventure. Turned to Jack, he said, "Thank you. I'll have to reward you." And he clapped his hands, and there were bags of gold brought. And he said, "No, I don't want those. I want that ring on your finger." She said, "You can't have that." And he brought diamonds and rubies and sacks for him. And they sat before Jack. He said, "No, I don't want any of that. I want the ring on your finger. And if I can't have that, I'll have nothing." And he turned his back to go. And the dragon goes, "Well, if he's going, I'm going too." Well, the king didn't want to lose his daughter again. So he agreed, and he took the ring from the finger and gave it to Jack. Now, going back to where the horse was, and the dragon said, "I can't go too far away from the cave. My dad will tell me off. But that ring, all you've got to do is put it near a fire and ask for anything you want, and it will be given to you." Well, when Jack got to where his horse was, all there were 4 horseshoes and a saddle and a bridle, and it had been eaten by a wolf. He forgot all about the ring. All he could think about was what his mum would say. "Told you so." And he picks up the saddle and the bridle, and he walks back home. His mum said, "Where's the horse?" "Well, Mum, there was a wolf." "I told you this would happen. You took no notice. You're not even having supper. Just go to your room. I don't want to see you." And Jack goes up and didn't argue. She was right. She said it was going to happen. But in the middle of the night, he woke up and he was hungry. And he came down and he felt in his back, there's the ring. He suddenly remembered what the dragon had said. So he holds the ring near the fire and says, I'd like that table to be full of food. And the table was stacked with food. And he ate his fill and he left the rest on the table and he went upstairs and went to sleep. Well, Mum got up in the morning. She came down, she saw the table full of food. She said, Jack, come here, look at this. He said, well, I couldn't tell you last night, you weren't listening, but I've got this ring. We can have whatever we want. Have a nice house if you want. She said, I wouldn't mind. He asked for a nice house. And he said, what are we doing, just a nice house? I could have a palace and furniture fit for a Tsar. Got the palace and furniture fit for the Tsar, and they were living well. Wanted for nothing. And he said, well, actually, I ought to marry. I hear there's a Tsar in Constantinople, and he's got a very beautiful daughter. And before you could blink, the Tsar's daughter is standing next to him. Well, he was a good-looking boy, and he got a palace. And it was getting boring with Dad. So she stayed. And they were married. But the Tsar had just lost his daughter and hadn't the faintest idea where she was. So there'll be a reward for anyone who can find my daughter. Well, in the Tsar's palace, there was a witch. And she went off in search. And Jack, in the meantime, they were living happily. He never forgot where he came from. And if there was a poor person came by that was hungry, he'd call them in and give them food. If they were ragged, he'd give them clothes. If they were shoeless, he'd give them shoes. And the witch heard all about this. So she dressed up as an old beggar woman and was taken into the palace. And her and the Tsar's daughter were chatting away. And it was late, and Jack took himself to bed, and the women were still talking. And the witch said, how do you know he loves you? I just know. He said, well, look, you've got no experience. I tell you what, go and get that ring off his finger and replace it with this one. And the one I'm giving you has got the power to say whether he loves you or not. Well, silly girl, she went and got the ring off his finger. And as soon as the witch had it, she whisked them both back to the Tsar's palace. And of course, she was rewarded handsomely. Jack woke up in the morning, saw the ring was missing, saw the other ring on his finger, saw his wife was missing. He was heartbroken, and he set off in search of her. And after much searching, he came to Constantinople, and he went to the Tsar's palace, and he got a job in the kitchen as a kitchen boy. And when everyone trusted him, he took the ring off his finger. And when he was asked to make the princess's meals, he put the ring on her plate, just covered up with a piece of potato or something. And when the princess ate it, at the meal, she found the ring. Where did this ring come from? And the servant girl that had brought her the meal said, well, it's Jack down in the kitchen. Well, she realized that it must be her husband. So there was a reunion, and every night Jack came up to her room. There's nothing he could do. He didn't have the ring. But the Tsar realized, eventually, you can't hide forever, that someone was visiting his daughter at night, and he asked the witch, and the witch said, well, I recognized him. He's the boy who took your daughter. Jack is dragged before the Tsar. The Tsar's about to hang him, or at least cut off his head. And if I had children in front of me, I'd go and cut off his, and everyone would be shouting head, especially the pacifist children who've grown up by being brought up by hippie parents. And the witch says, no, give him to me. I'll take 2 of your servants and we'll throw him down a pit. He'll starve to death. They went out in this huge pit. And Jack, who's got a little dog by now that follows him everywhere, goes to the pit. And he's thrown down, and the dog is thrown after him. But he lands on a ledge halfway down. And he's sitting there, and she's quite right. There was no food. And he got thinner and thinner and thinner. But he noticed the dog wasn't getting any thinner. And he realized his dog must be finding food somewhere. So one night he followed the dog and followed it through a little hole. And there he found himself in the land of mice. And the dog was going every day and making himself a meal of mice. And when Jack got there, the king of the mice goes, look, keep your army back. It's eating up my army. Jack said to the dog, sit. And the dog sat. And he said, I'll keep my army back if you can send your army to the witch's house and bring back the ring she stole from me. Off go the mice, all, and they bring back about 50 rings. None of them are the right ring. Unless you bring me the right ring, says Jack, I'll let the dog go. But they said, but the ring, the witch keeps the ring under a tongue. We'll never get it. But there was one 3-legged mouse who realized that he'd be the first to be caught. He said, I'll go. Can't be worse than being eaten by a dog. And he takes a couple of mates and he goes off, and on the way, he drags his tail through the dust, put a bit of honey on it and drags it through that. All the dust is stuck on his tail. And they get to the witch's place, and the 3-legged mouse crawls up and puts his tail underneath her nose. That way, that way, that way, that way. And the dust is going up her nose. And eventually she sneezes, and as she sneezes, the ring comes out of her mouth, and the mouse catches the ring on its tail, and they run back to the king of the mice. And the 3-legged mouse, with the tail upright, presents the king of the mice with the ring. And the king of the mice gives Jack the ring. And Jack wishes himself back to the palace. And he goes to see his wife. He said, no, I don't want to go through this again. I'm going to ask your father for your hand, and we'll get married again, and we'll make a big fuss and have a royal wedding and all that stuff. And the father, realizing he was a very powerful magician, thought it's best to stay on Jack's good side. So there was a great wedding and a great feast, and Mum came, and the Tsar said, there's one condition. Jack and my daughter live in the palace here. And Jack said, that's okay, as long as I'm with her. As long as I'm with my wife. And he asked his mum if she'd like to come and live with him. He said, why would I? I've got a palace of my own over there. And you don't want your in-laws about too much. You've already got the king. I think I'd prefer to be in a palace of my own. So everyone lived happily for the rest of their lives. Ah, right. Now, who have we got here? I think,
We've got a fox or a cow.
yeah, there's that's cute King Louis. I'll do another.
If you put a cow in your story, you can make a movie out of it.
Oh dear. I think I'm going to do. There's a. Oh, this was one I wrote for about people that have always got something better than you. You know, you. And whatever you've got, they come back and say, "Well, I've got so and so." So it's called I Bet. I bet your gerbil isn't as clever as my gerbil. My gerbil walks backwards. That's nothing. Mine walks backwards and sideways. Yeah, but mine walks backwards, sideways, and lays on its back with its legs sticking up. So what? Mine does all that and it talks. You think that's clever? Mine can count up to 1,000. My gerbil's got the biggest stamp collection in the world. My gerbil's a spaceman. It says it's been to the moon, but I'm not so sure. Sometimes I think gerbils tell lies. So, and I'm going to finish on I think I'm going to finish here on this. This is about words. Words for the story, words for the play, words for the night and words for the day, words for the letter and words for the rhyme, words rolling round the tongue time after time, words from the ocean, words from the sea, words from the lakeside, words from the free, words from the centre and words from the edge, words from the traveller and words from the hedge, words from the wagon and words from the tent, words from the rich man when his money's all spent, words in the papers, words in the book, words in the kitchen, everywhere you look, words in the leaflet, words in the post, words through the stick of rock that settle on the coast, words on the notice, words on the wall, words on the tongues of the teachers at school, words on the bottle and words on the jar, words on the bus and words on the car, words on the lorry and words on the train, words on the bicycle, words on the plane, words on the fishing boat, words on the ship, words on the t-shirt, words on the strip, words on the pitch and words on the crease, words on the war and words on the peace, words on the subject, words on the news, words on the crime and words on the clues, words that send a shiver. Words that send a shout. Words that send a message that everybody's out. Words that send some happiness. Words that send some hope. Words that send the very thing for you to make you cope. Words that make you angry. Words that make you mad. Words that make you good and words that make you bad, words that make you hot and words that make you cool, words that make your best friend act like a fool, words you need to sign and words you need to write, words you need to speak that need to be polite, words you need to process, words you need to read, words you need to check and words you need to lead, words you need to follow or walk side by side, words you need to run and words you need to ride, words in the silence, words in your head, words you are hiding that need to be said. And right, I think Santa Mike's here, so I think he'll have a request. You want the monster poem, do you, Mike?
Yes, please.
I like this. You feel like a rock star when people give you requests. So I predicted that one. Me and my mate Joey thought just for a change that we'd go monster hunting on the monstrous mountain range. Joey said we'll need supplies. That's what I think. So we packed some peanut butter sandwiches. And you're right with peanut butter. Anyone allergic?
Allergic?
What would you like in your sandwich, Bubba C?
Cheese.
So we packed some peanut butter and cheese sandwiches. Donald, what would you like in yours?
I would like some haggis, please.
I knew you were going to say that. So we packed some peanut butter, cheese, and haggis sandwiches. Norman.
Banana.
So we packed some peanut butter, cheese, haggis, and banana sandwiches. Mike. You're muted.
Could I have some blueberry jam, please?
Blueberry jam. So we packed some peanut butter, cheese, haggis. What was Norman's? Someone tell me.
Banana.
Banana and blueberry jam sandwiches. Lucy, what would you like in your sandwich? Oh, you'd like chips in your sandwich, right? So we pack some peanut butter, cheese, haggis, banana, blueberry jam, and chip sandwiches. Evita,
Oh, you have to have peanut butter with
with what?
pickle.
Pickle.
Oh,
Pickle.
so good.
So we
The
packed some
cucumber
peanut
pickle.
butter, cheese, haggis, banana, blueberry jam, chip, and pickle sandwiches. King Louis, what would you like in your sandwich? You're muted.
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Go with the chips. Right. So we packed some peanut butter, cheese, haggis, banana, blueberry jam, the chips, pickle, and what was Louis?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Obviously, ice cream. Ice cream sandwiches and cans of fizzy drink. Well, Joey had a BMX and I had a mountain bike. We went as far as we could on those and then we had to hike. We'd not gone far up the mountain when Joey called, look over there. It's the barbarous, razorless monster, the one that's all covered in hair. We went a few steps closer. The monster let out a roar. You can't scare us, said Joey. That stuff doesn't work anymore. Then the excessively hairy monster with the enormous hairy head called us over to a rock, and this is what she said. If you've come monster hunting, then I'll put up a fight. I'll gnash my teeth and throw some stones and roar with all my might. But I suspect that's not your wish. You only want to know if monsters really do exist and how tall do they grow, and are there many different sorts and where do they all live? Well, there's answers to your questions that I'm prepared to give, providing that you promise me you come with good intentions. After all, we've been around for quite some time without your intervention. No problem, answers Joey. That is understood. Now, why don't you tell all your friends we're really very good and we don't want to upset them or ruin their routine? But having gone all this way from monstrous display, you're the only one we've seen. Now, the excessively hairy monster put a finger inside of its teeth and let out an ear-piercing whistle that made the ground tremble beneath me and my friend Joey so much that even she looked perturbed. And then from each side of the mountain came the loudest noise we'd ever heard. And they came with a humble and crumble and tumble, and they came with a squelch and a crunch, and they came with a hopping and coughing, and they came with a gobble and munch, and some of them had 6 heads, and some of them only had 2, and some of them were purple, and some were pink and blue, and some had hair on the palms of their hands, and one had hair on its nose, and one was as bald as the day it was born, and one of them seemed to glow. And when they came up to the rock of the hairiest of them all, they were more than a little curious as to why on earth you call so many of the mountains monsters in the middle of the working day, and what could be the kind of game she'd about them all to play. I won't keep you long, she whispered, but I've a sight that's really worth seeing. You might not have seen them around these parts before, but this is a human being. And there is another, though they're not fully grown. I think they're wondrously strange and by far the most curious creatures to be found on this mountain range. Then Joey pulled out the sandwiches and offered them around, and without any fuss, the monsters and I sat down upon the ground. And we had to agree as we munched our lunch. Although mountains have their attractions, we'd best cycle home, leaving monsters alone, trying to work out our human reactions. Well, thank you very much, everybody. What's coming up? Oh, more to the point. I forget who's on next week. I've got the diary here. I can tell you. But tomorrow isn't it? It's Personal Stories at 1:30 UK time. Nerica, and next Friday, and on Thursday the 12th is Evita. You better explain it. It's you get a bit of fire in your soul.
Yes, we're getting to the last element of the elemental circle, and Maria from Story Seeds and myself will be hosting it, and I'm sure John will be there sitting by our virtual fire. And we are hoping you bring stories that embody the element of fire, which is fairly broad. So get fired up, people. Get fired up.
So it's an exciting week, and there'll be someone telling stories next weekend, next Friday. And if I had my diary on me, which I actually, if I use my telephone and look on the World Storytelling Cafe site, hopefully Walid's got it up before he went ill. He did, because he said I've done it. So, well, Storytelling Cafe, and no, I want homepage. Here we go. Da-dum. So, he hasn't put yours up yet, but he will. So we've got Michael Curran's next Friday. So that'll be June the 13th. So we've got Saturday, Thursday, and Friday. So we've got a busy old week at the cafe. So hopefully Waleed's back. And thank you very much for being an audience. You've been magnificent.
John, before you sign off, is next Sunday Get a Word in edgewise?
No, we're doing that once a month now. So we're doing it on the 22nd of June, I think, or whatever the Sunday is near there.
Because Father's Day is the 15th, and I'm going on a cruise. Father's Day is the 15th here in the States, and I'm going on a cruise. Well, actually, it's a birthday cruise, but it's on Father's Day.
Yeah, so I've got you in as instructed for August 1st.
So, sorry, John, in the 22nd, that's the Sunday, will we not be in Glastonbury then?
You and I will be.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it in the capable hands of Mike Rust.
Right, okay. The capable hands.
Well, yes. So we hopefully will be. Yeah, I'm getting down there on the Friday before. So I'll be down there for a week, hoping my van is all mended.
Well, that's another story.
That is another story.
Anyway, just wondering. Yeah. So
no, you're right. We will be. I'll have to share a field with you.
Oh, again? Oh, no.
Yeah, no.
I've got your I told you I've got your present. So.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. We got the adult drink. Fantastic. Goodbye, Louis. Good night, Louis.
Louis. Louis. See the next avatar. Louis. The next avatar. Right now, I've noticed that there's all the men here, apart from Omar, have all got white beards.
Pardon, Donald?
We've all got white beards. So the next avatar you do, you've got to have a white beard.
You are cutting off.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Oh,
what he said was, you've got to get an avatar with a beard on it.
what?
Yeah.
A white beard.
Because all
Okay. I will look, and I've got a few ideas.
Well, that's your weekly challenge. Okay.
It will be. It will.
Okay.
Nice to see you, Louis. Nice to see
Night
you.
all. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good afternoon,
Bye.
good night, good evening, good
Over there.
tomorrow, one and all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
night.
night, Odyssey.
Hey, Louis, see you next
I
week.
think, well, one of us is in the cafe, probably Omar, so he can close us down. See you, everybody.
Cheerio.
All
Bye.
right, good folk.
Bye, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Goodbye.
Take care, good folk,
Bye.
and Mike. Ah, Evita, so good to see your face.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's good to hear stories, and I've got Baby Man with me as usual.
And you're still in my heart and prayers.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Once my father passed away, for those who don't know, once his funeral is over, I will read you his eulogy. I'm allowed to share it here. It's pretty impressive.
All right.
You'll love it.
Well, beloved, you please take care of yourself and remain the wonderful soul that you are.
I am. I hope to see you guys on Thursday.
I'm going to do everything. I have a burning desire to be there. I know.
Fire.
Bring-
Well, I got a bait. Baden will be there. I've got a bait.
Uh-oh. Baden will be there.
Yep.
Oh, what's the world coming to?
Yeah, Maria will be there.
Oh, that's encouraging.
Indeed. And Norman usually turns up.
All right.
Yes,
No, remind me.
and I'm looking forward to I'm all fired up. I've been really remiss on all the byplay of words, so my apologies, but I certainly will not miss the fire. And
Yeah, that'll be fun. It'll be good.
yeah.
It'll be very good for everyone. And then, I suggest that after that, because we've done all 4 elements, I'll just run this by you guys, and then we let Omar shut us down. I would like to continue with a theme Thursday once a month.
Okay, sounds like a good idea to me.
Because
I
I
would like
find it
to-
really inspiring, because then you actually have to, you don't just get your bag of stories and pull one out, but you actually have to think, oh, does it go with this element of theme? And we suddenly get stories like last time saying, oh, I didn't even remember my story, but now I do, but a lot of people have stories that haven't told in yonks or find new ones.
Yeah, well, stories like to be welcomed, and I'm not just making that part up. When we have a theme, there's already a doorway, but except we don't know what's behind the doorway. But there's a word written on it like fire or washer or whatever. And behind that doorway of stories, well, who knows, especially if it's sea serpents.
Ooh, I'm
I would
intrigued.
love, yeah. And
Sea serpent?
yeah,
Sea serpent.
when you see them, you say hello to them.
No, sea serpent. That's all right. Y'all get that later. But anyhow.
I got, yes, I know, I got it. I was just going past it slightly.
So you're past it, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Listen here, too.
But-
I'm sure Omar probably has things
Yeah.
to do. It's
He-
easy.
Yeah,
he
we should
wants-
let him go.
Yeah.
So
All right,
he's
good
see
folk.
you take care. Safe journey.
Take care. All right,
Okay.
Omar, I
Eid
do my.
Mubarak, Omar. Shukran.
All right.
Yeah.
See
Wassalam.
out. Where's my out switch? Oh. No. I didn't do it. Oh well.